What was Bob Marley's lifestyle? Bob Marley grew up poor in the ghettos of Jamaica's capital, Kingston, and he never forgot his roots. But Marley was more than a star. Many forget that he was also a rebel, who never ceased to use his music to raise his voice against oppression. What was Bob Marley's personality like? Based on his music, interviews, and biography, Bob Marley can be speculated to have an ISFP, introverted sensing feeling perceiving. Personality type. ISFPs are known for their creative and artistic abilities, which is evident in Marley's music and lyrics that often express empathy, passion, and in. What was Bob Marley's hobbies? One of Bob's hobbies was playing soccer. He played on a professional level. When Bob was growing up, he didn't have much to do, so he would end up playing soccer and practice on his music. What made Bob Marley unique? His revolutionary yet unifying music, challenging colonialism, racism, fighting against ism and schism, as he sang in one drop, has had profound effects even in countries where English isn't widely spoken. Where is Bob Marley's grave? 9 Mile Jamaican Creole, Nain Male or Nain Males, is a district in Sunton Parish, Jamaica, a few miles south of Brownstown. The population was about 300 in 2009. On February 6, 1945, the reggae musician Bob Marley was born there. He was later buried there. Why was Bob Marley buried in Ethiopia? Throughout his life, Bob Marley looked to Ethiopia as the spiritual home of his Rastafarian faith. What was Bob Marley's struggle? Raised by a single mother and a largely absent father, young Marley was exposed to racism, poverty, and violence while growing up in Trenchtown in Kingston, Jamaica in the 1950s and 60s. He was even part of rough local street gangs for a while and went by the street name, Tough Gong. What country did Bob Marley live? Jamaican. Bob Marley was a Jamaican singer-songwriter whose distillation of early ska, rocksteady, and reggae musical forms blossomed in the 1970s into an electrifying rock-influenced hybrid that made him an international superstar. January 25, 2024. Where was Bob Marley's home? Kingston, Jamaica. The Bob Marley Museum is a museum and tourist attraction in Kingston, Jamaica, dedicated to the reggae musician Bob Marley. The museum is located at 56 Hope Road, Kingston, and is Bob Marley's former place of residence. It was home to the Tough Gong reggae record label, which was founded by the Wailers in 1970. Bob Marley lived in London on a self-imposed exile from 1976 to 1979, and during these 3 years, he changed a few houses, living in Bloomsbury, Kennington, Brixton, Notting Hill and Chelsea. When and where did Bob Marley die? During the flight, Marley's vital functions worsened. After landing in Miami, Florida, he was taken to Cedars of Lebanon Hospital, later University of Miami Hospital, for immediate medical attention, where he died on the 11th of May 1981, aged 36, due to the spread of melanoma to his lungs and brain. What happened to Bob Marley and his wife? At 8:30 p.m. on December 3, 1976, only 2 days before the Smile Jamaica concert, 7 armed men entered Bob Marley's house. At 56 Hope Road, Marley's wife, Rita, was shot in the head in her car in the driveway. Marley was shot in the chest and arm. Who is the most successful Marley child? David Ziggy Marley. Why was Bob Marley shot? In the cable, Ambassador Gerard wrote, "Some see the incident as an attempt by JLP gunmen to halt the concert, which would feature the politically progressive music of Marley and other reggae stars. Others see it as a deep-laid plot to create a progressive, youthful Jamaican martyr to the benefit of the PNP. What led to Bob Marley's death? He died in 1981 at 36 from a melanoma that started under his big toenail in 1977. The first doctor that he consulted thought that the lesion on his toe was a soccer injury. After it began to look worse. Who is the enemy of Marley? After Ymir's death, her power was split and passed down to her descendants in the form of the 9 Titans, who subsequently built the Eldian Empire using the Titans. The Eldians waged war against Marley and many other nations, utterly destroying them and obtaining complete rule over the continental mainland. What religion was Bob Marley? Rastafarianism helped lead a movement of cultural renewal among Africans in the late 1960s and early 1970s. Marley truly begins to accept this religion and incorporate its beliefs in his songs. Bob Marley's lyrics spread his spiritual and political messages. How big was Bob Marley? Bob Marley had a height of 5 feet 7, 1.70 meters. Bob Marley is a famous Jamaican musician and one of the greatest pioneers of reggae music. Known as a Rasta icon, Bob Marley's career began in the early 1960s with his music group Bob Marley and the Wailers. How big was Bob Marley? Bob Marley had a height of 5 feet 7, 1.70 meters. Bob Marley is a famous Jamaican musician and one of the greatest pioneers of reggae music. Known as a Rasta icon, Bob Marley's career began in the early 1960s with his music group Bob Marley and the Wailers. How much did Bob Marley weigh when he died? All indications at this point were pointing towards Bob's cancer being terminal, particularly because he had lost too much weight and hair. He weighed only about 82 pounds. Was Bob Marley intelligent? However, looking at his literacy and his musicality, it is evident he was a highly intelligent man. Bob Marley was super intelligent, and you can tell by what he spoke about in his music. And he was far too intelligent to ever take an IQ test, most likely. Is the Marley family rich? When Marley died of cancer in the 1980s, he left behind a fortune of at least $30 million. But some estimate that his estate is worth up to $500 million thanks to his posthumous success. He also left behind his wife and their 11 children. What food did Bob Marley like? Bob was not a vegan. He liked fish, vegetables, grains, fruit juices, nut shakes, Irish Morse blends and various porridges. The type of food that helped him keep properly conditioned, he explained. September 16, 2017. What did Bob Marley believe in? Though raised as a Catholic, Marley became interested in Rastafari beliefs in the 1960s, when away from his mother's influence. After returning to Jamaica, Marley formally converted to Rastafari and began to grow dreadlocks. Bob Marley spiritual. Bob Marley converted into a Rastafarian, and he infused his music with a sense of spirituality. Rastafarians smoke weed as a holy sacrament that cleans the body and mind, heals the soul, exalts the consciousness, facilitates peacefulness, brings pleasure, and brings them closer to God. January 3, 2017. How did Bob Marley impact the world? Bob Marley served as a world ambassador for reggae music and sold more than 20 million records throughout his career, making him the first international superstar to emerge from the so-called Third World.